Hi there, welcome to IndyCar on Sunday, the 26th of May today. Now, a little bit off topic, I know, but everybody talks about Brexit and everybody talks about Donald Trump and everybody talks about all sorts of things, but I wanted to change the subject matter for the show today to something far more sinister, actually, than just simply independence or lack of it. You probably know that as a person yourself who watches things like my show, which is effectively just a one-man blog done from a car, that you wouldn't be watching this programme and looking for news and looking for the truth if it wasn't so hard to find it in both mainstream media and even on social media itself. Now, I've said a few times in the past that social media is probably the most valuable and the most revolutionary new electronic tool that we've ever had, and it has revolutionised the way people communicate across the world, and it has also massively revolutionised the way that ideas spread across the world at almost the speed of light. They used to say that nothing travels faster than bad news. Well, that's probably still true, and I'm always very fond of it. A particular idea in an old Douglas Adams book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where he suggested a spaceship that was powered by bad news, and it always got there really fast but was never welcome when it arrived. Now, that's just to give you a visual picture that bad news does travel extremely fast, and the problem with that is that it often travels very fast when it's not true. Now, I mentioned at the top of this show in the blurb that begins the show that the Americans are starting a new electronic Cold War. You've probably heard the story that America has banned the use of the Chinese Huawei company's hardware from the development of their 5G network. The story that's being put out by the American government is that Huawei is in some way spying on behalf of the Chinese government, and that they're embedding some kind of monitoring system inside the software or hardware that they're selling to the West in order to monitor secret activities within other countries in the West, or to try and steal their trade secrets. Now, whilst maybe the latter might be true, the idea of pinching trade secrets has been going on for many, many years, and Chinese businesses are extremely guilty in some cases of plagiarizing other people's products. But that's not the point. The point here is that the Americans are claiming that the Chinese government will use Huawei's hardware and software and maybe even plant things like malware or spyware or other negative sounding software into the new 5G system in order to monitor what everybody is doing in the West and be able to report back to China. It's not been pointed out, though, that all of the American companies that have created the cell phone network and the latest thing that's being done at the moment by Elon Musk's SpaceX company to launch a global constellation of over 12,000 satellites so that people can get their internet connectivity anywhere on the planet, that the Americans have already got a huge monopoly on the hardware and software which is used to monitor us as it is. We're already being monitored. This is Facebook. It's one of the most heavily monitored and heavily spied upon means of communication. And I'm sure that keywords that I say today or are mentioned on the programme in writing will hoist red flags in somebody's office somewhere in GCHQ or in the CIA if I mention certain keywords. Now, it's interesting to note that although the Americans are claiming that the Chinese are going to use their software to spy on the West, and the Americans don't want that, the real reason the Americans don't want the Chinese hardware, if you like, being used in the West is nothing to do with spying on us. We're already spied on. We're spied on by the CIA, we're spied on by MI6, by GCHQ. All of social media is watched by everybody, and it is a completely open page. You know, there's nobody that can't be hacked or spied on or interfered with on social media, as we've discovered. So what's the point of the Americans worrying about the Chinese? Surely it's better that the Chinese know what the Americans know and the Americans know what the Chinese know. That way you would have a balance. But no, apparently this is dangerous. But what I wanted to point out was that if the Americans want to keep something secret, then the last thing they would do is for their military to use the 5G network to chat about it on social media. It's the last thing. They're never going to blurt out secrets. They're going to have some totally encrypted black web system that operates on their own hardware. They're not going to be open to spying by the Chinese government. So this all sounds a bit fishy to me, and when I looked at the whole subject, I began to realise that the real reason for this is not a Cold War about espionage and about secrets. It's a war of whose company can get the largest share of the global market in 5G technology. The Chinese are already miles ahead of the West, and this is the major problem that the Americans have. They want their companies to have time to catch up to the 5G expertise that Huawei already has built in China. Now, as well as all of these people spying on us, we have other countries trying to influence the way we think and what we think of certain things. You'll have heard all of the stories about the Russians spying on us and interfering in Donald Trump's election, interfering in the Brexit vote. And all the time you hear these stories saying that Russia is somehow manipulating public opinion. Well, Russia has always tried to manipulate public opinion, and that was what Pravda was for, that's what Sputnik Radio is for, and that's what Russia Today does as well. It is a Russian propaganda channel. It also carries normal programming, but it does have a propaganda edge. You'll see a lot more military hardware, for example, on parade in certain sections of Russian television on Russia Today. But it doesn't mean that people like Alex Salmond, for example, who has a TV show on RT, it doesn't make him a Russian spy, but that is what we're being led to believe. The British government is very good at implying things about people without any evidence at all, and Julian Assange is probably one of the best examples of that. Julian Assange, as you may remember, was allegedly accused, according to the British media, of sexual assault and rape, in fact. Now, this is actually a complete lie. In Sweden, he had 2 consensual sexual encounters with different women at different times. And both of those women decided that they wanted to find out if Julian Assange had HIV. They wanted him to get HIV tested because they were worried that they'd had unprotected sex with him. And that was their complaint. That got blown up by the Swedish Secret Service into this sexual assault charge. This misdemeanor, this crime against Julian Assange was blown out of proportion. The women themselves then tried to retract their statements and to have the charges dropped, and they were dropped. But the British government is pretending that those charges are still ongoing. And that was why they managed to get Julian Assange evicted from the Ecuadorian embassy with the help of the Americans who bribed the Ecuadorian government with $70 billion to fire Julian Assange out of that Ecuadorian embassy where he's been hiding for 7 years and into 24-hour-a-day basically single cell custody of Julian Assange for allegedly jumping bail on a charge which wasn't even in this country. And the bail, I think, the jumping bail charge itself was quite minor. It would have been a fine, perhaps, and a short custodial sentence. But now he's being held under God knows what kind of conditions in Belmarsh prison in solitary confinement, 23 hours a day. He gets half an hour in the sunshine and half an hour outside his cell a day, and he has no TV, no computer, no books, nothing. He's in a bare cell 23 hours a day by himself. For doing what? Nothing. He's done very little. His company has published leaked information which American military personnel actually leaked out into the public domain. So if anybody is to be done for espionage, it has to be the people who leaked the information, not the publisher of it. The publisher of it just wanted to provide the truth about, for example, American gunships murdering innocent civilians and murdering innocent Reuters news cameramen, and then going back later on and murdering the people who came out to try and help them, the first aiders and the ambulance crew, and mowing them down with machine guns from helicopters. Now, this piece of movie footage, this clip, went viral very quickly, And that's the main reason why the Americans want Assange locked away. But they're trying to make out that he's a sexual deviant and that he has raped these two women when he hasn't. And this is how the media is manipulated. The British government decides what can and cannot be said in the British media about people like Julian Assange. However, to come back to things for a moment, there are three different ways that people interfere with the internet. Those are trolls that we know about. Now, trolls obviously are people like the ones we see on our feeds every day, who sit in their bedrooms in their mum's home and type a load of rubbish about, spouting anti-independence slogans and things like that, and annoying everybody in sight who has anything to do with the independence movement. So we know what trolls are. These are actually people with keyboards. And then you get things called bots, which is basically a shortened version of robot. And a bot is basically an automated account. So it's an account that's been set up by a person in a fake name, and it's an automated account. That means there is software built into that account which looks for certain key words and things and reacts to them. So it might be, let's say it was Alex Salmond. When it sees the word Alex Salmond coming up on a post, if it's a bad post about Alex Salmond, then the bot will retweet it on Twitter. If it's a good post about Alex Salmond, then the bot will not retweet it. It will only retweet negative things. And then you get things called sometimes they're called cyber bots, but a cyber bot is basically part human, part bot. It's a bot which operates automatically most of the time, but is monitored by a human being, and its parameters can be changed on a regular basis to conceal that it is a bot. And a person who is running these cyber bots, these cyborgs, can run many of them so that it conceals the fact that these are not human beings. And all of these things operate all the time on the internet. Behind the scenes, we don't see them, but we know they're there. We can see these strange accounts by people who have very few friends, who seem to operate basically by retweeting or sharing negative things about whatever the subject is. So you can spot them quite quickly. And analysis done by the Scottish Government has shown already that there are somewhere between 4 and 12% of every tweet every day in Scotland comes from a bot or a cyborg, and sometimes a troll, but mostly bots. So about 12% of the traffic on the internet, on Twitter for example, is fake, and it's faked by whoever is wanting to swing your opinion in a certain direction. Some of them might be Russian, but not many. I think it was less than 1% when they actually looked at it. Some of it will be coming from people like Scotland and Union, some will be coming from GCHQ, MI5, MI6, some will be coming from just trolls who set up bot accounts because they can do so. Some of it's coming from Brigade 77, which is the British military's cyber warfare wing. All of these things are on your internet feeds every single day, and they are trying to make you convinced that something is true when it's not, or to make you convinced that something which is true isn't true. And these are happening all of the time without you really realizing it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions and your opinions are being channeled and nudged and pushed around by these operators constantly. And it's a fight for people like me to cut through all this crap and just actually tell you the truth about stuff. But this is the reason why social media is so powerful. When you get somebody who can actually speak to you directly and live like this and tell you stuff like this, then you know that it's not coming from a bot. And that's why I say to you, if you are looking for information on the internet about anything at all, look for a human being on the internet and make sure that you're talking to a human being. Somebody that you know, that you share hundreds of friends with, who has a reputation. Somebody where there is some footage of that person online, either as an activist or marching or speaking somewhere, but somebody recognisable that you can confirm the identity of. Do not listen to these trolls, these bots and these cyborgs who operate in the dark corners of the internet, who pollute our feeds with negativity, who pretend to be other people. Sometimes they will hijack somebody's account and say, oh, I'm actually, I'm a secret Tory, or I'm really a fascist, but I'm for independence. They will put out all kinds of garbage like that creates dissonance, that creates doubts in your mind. Ignore it, filter it out, put it in your spam folder. Okay, but don't believe everything, all right? But look for people who talk to you directly. Look for people that you recognize, that you trust, and that other people have met or know of. Because the internet is a minefield at the moment with thousands of bots, millions of them, all across the world, operating all the time in different spheres, trying to convince you of this, that, or the next thing. A lot of it is not true. A lot of it is being done for political reasons, and some of it for commercial reasons. Personally, I think this Cold War that the Americans are trying to stir up with Russia by sailing their warships into, with China, I meant to say, sorry, by sailing their warships into the South China Sea, is to try and provoke tensions with the Chinese. And rather than doing deals with them, trying to shut them out of the market in America so the American market has time to catch up with the technology. This is like an arms race that's going on, and the cyber world is being used as a way of buffering it and controlling things and steering people's opinions and getting them to stop buying Huawei equipment, even though it's perfectly good. But it's making you doubt it and making you feel like you're being spied on. Which is crazy, because you're already being spied on by Google, by Amazon, by every other company which operates on the internet, has lots of your tweets, it has all your opinions, it has, it has records of everything you've ever bought or looked at. You're not being spied on by the Chinese, you're being spied on by your own people. Everybody's being spied on 24 hours a day, and it's just the way life is now. But all I wanted to say to you today is, don't be fooled by some of the stories you see on the internet that sound completely bonkers, that sound baffling or counterintuitive. There's a reason for that. The reason is they're lies. If it sounds like a lie, if it looks like a lie, if it looks too good to be true or it seems too bad to be true, then it probably isn't. But use your brain. Go and look for authentication when you read things on the internet, and don't just take somebody's word for it. Twitter is probably the worst possible place in the world for this kind of influencing. Because the tweets are short and they happen very, very fast, you can start a Twitter storm with one rumour. And that is the problem with Twitter as an internet medium. It's not detailed enough. It's the only reason I work on Facebook, incidentally, is because there's time to go into the kind of detail I want to go into with you about these things. That's it for today, but just beware of the kind of trash that you're hearing on the internet from, shall we say, opponents of Scottish independence and opponents of staying inside the European Union as well. You will hear a lot of lies, and some of it will sound plausible. Some of it might be appearing to come from people that you know. It might appear to come from people who say they're for independence, and it might be there just to create doubt and division. So think about it. Don't take my word for it. Obviously, I could be lying to you as well, although I'm not, but I could be, couldn't I? But you're seeing me live in a car. You know that I am not a bot. At least as far as I know. I haven't peeled the skin back to see if I actually have a metal skeleton or not, but I'm pretty sure I am not an android, and I'm not a cyborg. I'm definitely not a bot. Okay? But anyway, have a good day today, but just bear these things in mind when you're looking at the news feeds. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.